Zippy, you okay? You should have used Ice Fighter Plus. Not only will it protect Zeppy and your family, it's safe for your cement. Can I call you an ambulance? A lawyer, maybe?
A few weeks ago, I promised that I'd discuss our 2014 statistics more fully once we had a chance to analyze them a bit. And we're not completely done that analysis, of course. It's an ongoing event that happens throughout the year. But I can at least now present that picture that we see when we look at the data that we have available to us. First of all, the reason that we keep statistics, aside from informing the community, is that so we can make sure our police resources are allocated to best address the challenges that we have. And I think as we discuss them here today, you'll see that our resources and our strategies are well aligned with the community safety needs. First stat that I'll present is a very broad one and nothing new to the community. 27.6% of the people that we arrested in 2014 were not from Prince Albert. So roughly 1/3. And this is not something new. It's an operational reality that we've seen and we've tracked over the last number of years. And it's a result, obviously, of our location in the province, a center that provides education, healthcare, and employment. But the reason I mention it is that in order for our strategies, police strategies, to be effective, we have to reach farther than just the boundaries of the city. And we do this by partnering with the RCMP and integrated drug units, organized crime units, intelligence units, and by contributing to the success of community mobilization in Prince Albert. We're often involved in investigation and enforcement that's outside of our city limits and in the surrounding area because of the impact that it has back home. Our local statistics don't always reflect that. And it's difficult to measure, but the reason that we do it, obviously, is because it has an impact at home, rather than just focus all of our resources locally. The second stat that I'll share is also quite broad. It's the fact that when you remove duplicate calls, so when you remove people phoning in about the same incident, more than one person phoning about the same incident, you focus on how many calls we had about unique incidents, we saw an increase in calls for service of 3.6%. On the website, it shows it as 4.1. I believe that that's simply because some of those are duplicate calls. It's not a clean statistic. This trend of increased calls for service started early in 2014, and it continues on into 2015 as well. It's important to note, and you can see that on the data that I provided to you. It's important to note that this increase in calls for service doesn't necessarily reflect an increase in emergency or priority calls, and you can see in the second graph I provided that our 911 calls have remained virtually the same year over year. It is an increase in alcohol-related calls, such as disturbances and public intoxication, and it's an increase in youth-related calls like trespassing and missing persons. To address the youth demographic, we provide positive interaction through our school liaison, our social media initiatives, and things like positive tickets. But we have also increased our visible presence at events where youth are likely to be. And an increase in traffic enforcement also provides some of that visible enforcement and what we know to be crime prevention. 3/4 of our call increase have come from two categories: disturbances and public intoxication. We think that a 14% increase in arrests for public intoxication indicates care and community. People call us more frequently now when they see a vulnerable person. But to have a longer-term impact, we also do case planning with our chronic population, and we actively are involved with the public safety compliance team and with the regional alcohol strategy. The statistical data that you see on our website, and that's the last of the graphs that I provided to you, is entitled General Occurrences Reports. And this is a nationally standardized way to capture information on reported crime. As I mentioned earlier, we had a 3.6% increase in calls for service. But you'll see we've documented in detail 15.8% more offenses. Now this disparity, the additional reporting, is a result of two initiatives. First of all, our focus on a domestic violence strategy. We attended roughly the same number of domestic violence calls in 2014 as we did in 2013. But the officers here were asked to document more fully any domestic attendance we had, so that we could ensure victim support was provided to children and to families in need where appropriate. And you'll see that this has resulted in an increase in reports coded as assault. Second of all, our initiative of increased resources for supervision and accountability has impacted our reporting. We added supervision to our detention area as a result of the multitude and increase in high-risk people being housed here. This has allowed our more senior officers to attend serious calls, to train and mentor new officers, and to ensure accountability to our reporting policy. This increased supervision has resulted in more thorough reporting throughout. I just want to point out 3 or 4 statistics of interest as well today that you'll see on that GEO report as you go through it. First of all, we record prostitution statistics, and as you know, the laws have changed regarding prostitution in the last year, and so what you'll see now and what you see on that paper are stats that are focused on Johns and others who victimize sex trade workers. Second of all, you'll see an increase in property crime, and property crime statistics can fluctuate quite a bit, but to address this increase in property crime, we made street-level drug enforcement a priority because we know that drugs are directly linked to property crime. The theft of motor vehicle category has increased as well. Generally, it's something we consider a preventable offense because of how vehicles are engineered now. It's very difficult to steal a vehicle without the key. And we work with the media on this as well, reminding people please not to leave a spare key in the vehicle, etc. Because of over 40% of the vehicles that we have reported stolen to us have had a key left inside. I also mentioned traffic enforcement earlier, and as you can see, we had a 22% increase in enforcement for the reasons that I've provided. Traffic safety remains a priority, including impaired driving, and we've seen a reduction in injury accidents as a result.